good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Sir Meerkat, and welcome back to the Moto Meerkat channel, and welcome to another episode of the ChatterBox podcast. Now, in last week's episode of the podcast, or I say last week, it's been a little bit of a while since we had an episode. I'm very happy to be back, but we did have Mr. Hayden Gullis, a man who's become a mainstay at the Veloce esports channel and often works alongside people like Tomo, people like Aldas, and today we're going to be joined by another man who's worked a lot with Tomo and Aldas, which probably hasn't really helped with his waning sanity. He has somehow managed to accumulate over 200,000 subscribers on YouTube, probably because he's pretty talented at what he does. And he's been dubbed by some as the Kiwi Valtteri Bottas. Please welcome Mr. Josh Revell. How are you doing today, mate?
Slightly tired, but apart from that, no, it's going alright, eh?
Just a little bit. What's the time with you there right now?
Basically 6 o'clock, 6 a.m.
6 o'clock in the morning, and you've had how many hours of sleep?
Some total of none.
Right.
Such is the schedule, mate. Got to keep that hustle up. That's
exactly
how I get to 200,000 subs. I mean, no sleep. It's completely detrimental to my mental health, physical health, to my social life.
But that didn't exist anyway, so that's cool.
Hey, who needs that? Who needs that for a full life?
Exactly, mate.
Oh,
exactly.
yeah.
Is that what you're saying then? I want to get to 200,000 subscribers, so I should just not sleep. That's the way to do it.
You gotta make some sacrifices to get to this level. Either that or, you know, I don't know. Depends on how you look at it. I mean, it's been mental, obviously, especially the last, what was it been? 3-4 months, especially, where, the growth has been tremendous. Of course, crap loads of hours, like averaging something like 70 or 80 hours on average per week, every week.
Holy moly.
For the longest time, and it's just like, crap. So I've taken a couple of weeks off to sort of get my head straight and try and get more ideas out, because of course when you're working endlessly and you're having to write a script, write a 4 or 5 page script in 2 days, it's pretty tough to get something which I want to be, good, if you know what I mean. I want there to be a good full script that's, cohesive, and it's got, a moral and all that good jazz that you got to have in a good script and all that stuff. I want it to mean something rather than it just having a nuke in there. Well, you got to have nukes in there, but
of course. Yeah,
it basically sort of that's been it for the longest time. So having a 2-week break is something that I've wanted for a long time, but so far it's been mental, eh?
Yeah, man, that's good. Yeah, good giving yourself a break. As you say, yeah, working that much just takes a massive toll on your mental and physical health. So yeah, definitely good to give yourself a break, mate. But yeah, as we've said, you've not had much sleep today, and I'm a bit ill as well. So sorry if this podcast is a little bit disjointed. Not done it for a month, and I'm ill, and Josh is a very, very tired man.
Through it, though, we're
going to have a great time.
We're going to make this a cracker.
Exactly. It's going to be the best podcast you've ever seen.
Viewers.
The most animated podcast you've ever seen. But right, let's get into it. Firstly, okay, you've let us know kind of what's going on with the schedule there, but just generally, Josh, how's life for you down under? What's going on down under? You guys have been relatively okay virus-wise for a while. Obviously, we're only just kind of getting out of it, but what's going on with your life other than YouTube-wise at the moment, mate?
Well, basically, you're wondering what life is like here in New Zealand. Pretty normal. I mean, honestly, you wouldn't guess that COVID's happening in the world. Obviously, you can't mess around in the airport anymore. That stuff's gone. Traveling to other countries is a bit tricky. We got the Cook Islands and Australia where there's quarantine-free travel, to and fro. So that concept is kind of foreign. Even for us now, still, we're still not used to that, especially with all the restrictions since the beginning of 2020. it's different. But apart from that, it's great being down here. Even though I've been planning to move back to the UK, but that's got its own set of dramas, of course.
Especially now, yeah.
Yeah, because I was searching it up, and you could transfer through Singapore, for example, but you try and go through the UAE, and you got to quarantine for 10 days, even if you just transit through there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know why, in all of this, I'm still planning to come over to the UK when life is what it is over here in New Zealand, even though time zones are a bit crap and all that stuff. It's can't complain about how things are going down over here.
Yeah, that's fair enough. You definitely got a sweet side of the deal, shall we say. It's been done very nicely down in New Zealand, and you're allowed to have a bit of fun out there still. Hopefully UK is going to be back to that relatively soon, and you're able to finally come over to England. I guess that probably means you're not going to be able to come to the Silverstone Grand Prix, at least this year then. Are you planning on going to the Australian Grand Prix the next time that happens?
The next time that'll happen will probably be next year, because
almost certainly.
Because F1 are looking to do quarantine-free travel. Now, it's something that needs to be understood about Australasia. There are no exemptions. It's not going to happen. Sir Lewis and the rest of the F1 circus, they want quarantine-free travel. It's not going to happen anytime soon, unless where they're coming from, and as long as they can fit the requirements. But that's obviously not going to happen in about 4 or 5 months. So yeah, I can't see the Aussie Grand Prix happening this year, so I'm still waiting on going to my first Formula 1 Grand Prix. Been 26 years, I haven't been to one.
So long now.
Now that I can go to one, I can't afford it. Ideally, I would have liked to have come over to the UK to go to Silverstone for that. Yeah. Meet up with all the gang and all the other YouTubers and all that stuff, and
boys.
Just meet some of the YouTubers, be like, hey, it's great to see you, and other ones just like, hey, I hate your guts, but good to see you too. Not you, John. Calm down. You're
Jesus.
Okay.
You brought on my cold there with that.
No.
You've tried to kill me through the screen.
It is a dream though, to actually meet up with all the other YouTubers. It'll be great,
It'll be so much fun.
Also got to get Cranky over to
Exactly.
the British Isles for that,
Definitely.
Get a whole big group photo and just say, hey, look, we got the whole F1 YouTube community here in some weird way. I don't know. It's a bit of a dream, but
it would be a lot of fun.
Hopefully it can happen soon.
All of the current guidelines that are in place. It's exactly what they don't want us to do.
They only save lives.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good reason, but still. It'll be great. It'll be great to happen when it does.
Exactly. Yeah, something to look forward to, and hopefully can happen relatively soon. But let's not get too bogged down in COVID chatter. We're already tired, so there's no point in bringing you down even further. Let's talk a bit about you, my friend, because that's what we're all here to listen about. And you love speaking about yourself, Josh. Come on, we all love speaking about ourselves a little bit. So
I'm a cantankerous, blonde-headed bloke that loves talking about himself.
Exactly.
They recently elected one of them people as president.
I think you fill his shoes quite well, mate.
Subscribers. I'm sorry, mate.
Right, okay. Let's talk about you. Let's cast our minds back to your childhood. Did you always grow up in New Zealand? And what was life like as a kid for you in New Zealand, if that's where you grew up?
Yeah, I won't joke around on this. Yeah, born and bred here in Auckland, New Zealand, and
yeah, don't be saying like Trinidad and Tobago or something, because I just know you're lying.
Hey, does anything about my accent, about my mannerisms, suggest that I have any amount of origin from that place?
Who knows, mate?
It's been pretty much almost my entire life I've lived here, apart from like 3 months living over in the UK where that fell apart pretty damn badly. But like growing up as a kid here, I mean, it's great. I mean, I don't know, like, because obviously I have nothing to compare it to. It's um, yeah, in a word, it's been great growing up here. I suppose I don't know what more to add to that.
Yeah,
But
that's
I
fair
suppose
enough,
what
mate.
else could we talk about from that period?
That's cool. I'm not going to push you for an answer for that because that's fair enough.
Good.
Same answer basically that I had from F1 Addict when I was speaking to him, where I was like, the first time I asked that kind of question, I left it much more open, and I was just to him like, "What was it like life in Turkey?" And he was like, well, I don't really know. It's just like what I've always known, kind of thing. So I was like, oh yeah, obviously he's not going to be able to compare that to my British upbringing. But yeah, like school-wise, how did you find school, mate? Was it a simple ride? You were just so smart, your brain was coming out your ears, or was it a bit more challenging? Were you a bit of a jock, or were you a bit of a nerdy kid? What were we thinking? What were we saying?
I was in that weird middle ground,
Right.
I mean, definitely not a nerd. There are obviously some subjects which I was good at, but the other ones I just sucked, like math. And I think it's pretty evident when you watch some of my videos and have a look at the numbers I put in there, just like, really? Just, but really my big subjects were things like English-rich subjects. So, writing stories, scripts, all that stuff, and that obviously translated to where I am now. Ironically, I wanted to do journalism back in high school, but they said there's not enough people in this class. There's only 7 or 8 people signed up for this gig, so you're going to have to go into this other class, which ended up having 5 or 6 ones. It's like, okay, so you're screwing my life. It's just like, I want to be a journalist. And subsequently I took up an IT class, and I spent like about $7,000 going to a tertiary course to be a web designer, and then I gave up on the industry 2 weeks after graduating, which is great.
Money well spent.
But especially in the start of high school, I say that I was in that weird middle ground because I wasn't, a total jock, of course, but I was playing rugby, and at that time I was karting, so doing a fair amount of sports, which was obviously great, but you could tell that our rugby team wasn't very good when a Japanese school toured us and put 100 points in our team. So, like, and playing rugby and American football at lunchtime, and it's sometimes playing on the AstroTurf thing where I had the sort of cage fencing all around, and it was full on tackle on that AstroTurf. So you just turn up to the last class with ripped shirts and blood and all that stuff, and it was just great. And I remember because it was what was it, graphic design class, or what was it, graphic design? It was something where we were designing buildings in a year 13 class. I don't know why. No, you could be learning how to sort out your finances, but no, design buildings. And the teacher for that class was a big rugby fan. And he just see us turning up as an absolute mess, and all he asked was, "Did you win the game?" It's just like, none of this, "Are you okay?" It's just like, "Did you win?" "No." Rubbish, mate.
Exactly. It's not worth getting the injuries if you're not going to win. Come on. You've got to take that win. But yeah, that's nice. That's a good mentality to have. But you kind of started to tickle at 2 certain points I wanted to go into. So I'm going to pick the first one of the 2. Mm-hmm. Was it in school? You were saying it was at school where you started doing go-kart racing. When was the sort of age where you started getting into motor racing, and what was the catalyst to that love of fast cars?
First time introduced to racing cars. I mean, obviously, as a kid, you're given Matchbox cars and all that stuff. Yeah. I guess I liked them back then, and so I was given my first PlayStation 1 console when I was 5, 6 years old. Nice. And the first game I got on that console was a Formula 1 2001. And, I still remember playing that game. All I remember playing back in that time was me somehow managing to get up the escape road on turn 3 at Melbourne and being stuck there for half an hour. But, I mean, I kicked it off, getting, DVDs of V8 supercar racing over here and just watching it religiously.
Nice.
Formula One, eventually I was introduced to that at some point. I don't remember what was the first Grand Prix I actually watched, although the first one I remember was 2004 German Grand Prix. It was the one where Jenson Button was holding his visor down. But yeah, it was basically, me just being hooked on it from that point on. Probably watching it as Schumi was starting to sort of come toward the end of his first career, I guess you could say. Started watching it properly religiously from 2007 onwards. So I caught right at the time where Lewis came in.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember like the 2008 Brazilian Grand Prix, because that was a Monday morning for us,
Right, of course.
And I remember I was like, no, Dad, I want to watch this race in its entirety, And I was gutted because I'm still a Hamilton fan, but I was a massive Hamilton fan back then. And I was like, damn it, he's lost the championship. Then he passed his clock on the last corner. And yeah, that was a good day at school for me, for sure. It was only Monday where I was actually happy going to school, but I would imagine in, a lot of other parts, people weren't that happy. But yeah, in terms of proper racing, when I was competing in it, when I first got into it, about 13 years old was when I first got a go-kart.
You got your own go-kart?
Yeah.
Oh,
and,
very nice.
Competed here in New Zealand, and I mean the talent that was competing here in the karting scene was astonishing. You had the likes of Mitch Evans, Andre Heimgartner. Just some of these kids were unbelievably good, and a lot of them didn't even make it to cars. It says something when you got future V8 supercar winners down in 10th, 11th place at a local meeting. It gives you an idea of the amount of talent that was in there. And I was stuck there, and we knew nothing about racing back then. So we were running default setup and running tyres down to the canvas. We knew nothing about how to run anything. So that sucked, trying to learn everything the hard way. We ran out of money, and then we got money again. I got myself into a Rotax. Ran out of money after 3 meetings again, and at that point I was also doing rugby, and I got a broad frame, and trying to nail down about 85 kgs in the car, especially when you're up against bloody twigs, racing against them, just wasn't going to work. Yep. So we quickly abandoned that, and since then I've got more money to get back into it. But of course now, the costs of motor racing are just crap.
Yeah.
I'm just enjoying watching it from the sidelines, or previously doing esports racing, which is what I did before. I did a lot of esports after leaving karting. 3 national V8 titles, and I first qualified for the Gran Turismo Sport New Zealand Championship, which I had second in the bag, and I screwed it up by trying to make it on one pit stop and almost ran out of fuel and lost the podium, which sucked. And then
at least you went for it, mate. At least you went for it.
And then I qualified to compete in the Project Cars 2 Championship in New Zealand the next year.
Nice.
And that championship killed my love of sim racing.
Oh.
So, there was
Why
a
was
few
that?
things, because at that point, I mean, all the way to the point, I was a very casual racer. I really just turned up and just put in a few laps, and I just winged it in the races. And I won a lot of stuff, but at that level, which it got to then, you had to be super committed. You know, you had to put in the work to get up to speed with some of these other cats. A couple of these guys, are in like the top division of iRacing. And so that was something that I had to go up against, but I wasn't into that. I was just a casual racer. And the other thing is that I hadn't actually played Project Cars 2 up to that point. I just turned up at the qualifying day and I managed to get in. And then nice. I actually raced in Project Cars 2 and the car they gave us was the Ginetta GT4 car. And that was the worst experience of my life because apart from the game sucking, the car was beyond garbage.
Hey, don't you speak badly on my Project Cars 2 now, Josh.
I would rather go out on a dinner date with Akita Mazepin than spend one more minute in that GT4 car. And as well as that, Mazepin was more predictable than that GT4 car. You didn't know when you're going into a corner whether or not it was going to understeer or oversteer. It's like, make up your mind. Be either lazy or be recalcitrant, but be one or the other. And as well as that, there was conflicts with this other guy who was being, shall we say, aggressive, So that was a bit of an uncomfortable situation being in the same building, as them. Every week on national television, I won a couple of races, which was cool. Ended up finishing third in the championship. But
sorry, Josh. Hold on. This was on national television?
Yeah. I think actually we were broadcast ahead of like rugby championships. So
that has blown my mind, mate. How did I never know this? You're really good then.
I mean, I'm okay. I mean,
for something to be on national TV, it has to have had backing. So it must have been a pretty big thing. That's sick, mate.
It was...
That's sweet.
I don't know. I think if you watch those episodes, you just see a gradual decline of my love of sim racing. And by the final round, I just gave like this weird ass interview where I said I was happier than a gypsy in Hamilton because I won $2,000. Was it $2,000 or $3,000 out of that? And I managed to use that to put toward hiring a GTR over in Japan, which was a great experience.
Nice.
But by that point, I'm just like, I'm never doing this again. I'm never sim racing again. So apart from losing my love of real racing, I lost my love of sim racing. But, I experienced it all. And, I guess I learned a lot out of it. Not just about, internal things in the sport, but also just what goes on, I guess, in a racing driver's mind. At least I have some kind of idea. So I guess it gives me a better understanding of the topics ahead, which is why I could say, oh, this guy is sort of lacking in form a bit, but he may bounce back. He just needs that motivation. And where I could say that Alessio Delita is genuinely the worst driver to ever grace Formula 2 and that he should have no place on that grid. And, all that jazz. I'm looking forward to speaking to his lawyers again in November when I make another video on him.
Oh my god, that is so crazy. Fuck it, you've mentioned it. Let's go down that tangent. I want to know more about that Delata thing, mate. Are you able to tell me any more? Because that was insane, that whole story. Because I remember watching the video. Great video, by the way. But sadly, no one else could actually go out and watch it now.
Yeah, so basically, I don't think I'll get in too much trouble for saying this.
Okay.
The reason I was threatened over that was because I claimed that he was the one driving the Lambo. And I took it down because I realised, because I got a family full of lawyers, and I was looking to enter law myself until that IT thing came along. The reason why I took it down was because I knew if it did go to court, I'd lose it in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Because all the letters attorney needs to say is, how can you categorically prove that he was driving the car?
Yep.
You got any video evidence? No? Okay, well, c'est la vie.
Yeah.
So, like, that was it. It wasn't because I, was saying he was a crap driver or anything like that. It was because I was saying that he was driving the Lambo.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. So I was like, okay, fine. I'll take it down after it rolls past midnight and I can get the AdSense money. Okay, take it down. Thanks for the money.
I love that, mate. I love that. At least squeeze a little bit of money out of that dickhead.
No, he's not. He might be a bad guy. I don't know.
He might be a nice guy, but yeah, he doesn't deserve his place and where he is.
No, in real. I mean, the video will be coming out at the end of this year, and I promise I will not say that he was driving the Lambo. Rather, he was allegedly driving the Lambo.
There you go. But
I can say for certainty that he was driving that F2 car. And I will be honest about what I think of him in that F2 car.
Yep. Be as honest as you like, mate. We're all there to listen, definitely. What's Jesus? I was not expecting this. We've gone way off script, but I'm absolutely loving it. These are some amazing stories, mate. I do want to touch back on, because you said that it was televised, this sim racing thing you did, and you said if you watch it, you'll see your declining mental state. Is it anywhere out there on the internet that we can find it? Do you know what was the name of it?
Maybe. I mean,
I'm definitely going to go searching after this.
I don't want to show it because back then I was fatter than what I am right now, which is obviously not a very good, look.
I feel your pain.
I can't remember. I know it was on national television, but I think they briefly had the races on YouTube, but I think they took them down as well.
Yeah,
which is a pity, obviously. Yeah. But
I just think it would be quite a cool idea for a series for you reacting to when I was on national television doing sim rate. That is just mad. I can't believe I never knew that about you, mate. That is sweet. I'm glad.
Well, now you know.
I'm glad we've learned that today. That's epic. But yeah, we'll move on from sim racing. As you said, yeah, you did a bit of sim racing. You did a bit of kart racing first. That didn't quite pan out, so you did sim racing instead. I mean, made thousands of dollars from sim racing. Madness. So cool.
Yeah. Well, I also, just to add to that.
Okay.
I was one of those people that would go to these conventions and stuff, knowing there'd be simulator competitions there. And I just go there and win all these competitions. So, like, I think I won something like 4 Logitech G29 wheels, all up, several gaming consoles, tens of thousands of dollars worth of gaming, or like Husqvarna vouchers, for example, about the equivalent in cash prize money, like all kinds of stuff. But I mean, I would spend $20 to go in there and I walk out with a couple grand worth of prizes. It was just sweet. But as well as that, I think people got used to me after a time. I just turn up and they'd be like, oh, for God's sake, this guy again. Set your time and bugger off. I also actually, interesting, there was this competition where you had to drive a Ford GT car around Le Mans, and winners of each sort of individual race got a free ticket to the screening of Ford versus Ferrari. And I won the race, and they handed me the ticket, and they're like, wow, I can't believe you won. And then I went to Ford versus Ferrari, and I was just like, I wish I didn't win that race, because this movie is just appallingly inaccurate. I got major beef with that film. People would be like, really? Do you hate that film? Yeah, I do. As someone who loves the history of the sport, that thing was like 20% fact, 80% fiction, and I hated it to hell.
Yeah, that's fair enough. If there's one thing about you, Josh, it's you love the history. It's one thing I always come away with after chatting with you is, we'll be chatting about something and you'll be like, oh, that was just like in 1986 at round 4 at this track when this and this and this. I'm like, what? How do you know that, mate? Like, what are you on about? But somehow it pops out of your head. So yeah, for some normie casual like me, I thought it was a great movie. I was loving it, mate. All the fast shots of the old cars and that was fantastic. But yeah, I guess if it wasn't particularly accurate, then yeah, you're probably knocking at your own head.
I mean, you're going to have a bit of Hollywood in there, for sure.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, Rush had, like, I think Nicky Lauda said himself, the movie's about 80% fact, 20% Hollywood, but you got to expect that. It's like, yeah, that's fine. You got to have a little bit of Hollywood in there to sort of move the plot along, but like things like completely omitting other people's involvement with the GT40 project, claiming that Miles was deliberately hampered by Ford, which was bogus, saying that Ferrari went on a tirade in his office, which was again bollocks, making Lorenzo Bandini out to be a villain, I thought was just an absolutely appalling move. It's just like, for me, I love the history of the sport, and to see things like that, I was just like, screw this film. It sounds petty, I know, but again, this is coming from, no, if you think that's petty, I've spent like about 30 minutes total talking about 2 animated car films. So, like, I have no right to say anything is petty and pathetic. I built my channel on that.
Yeah, I think we can agree on that. But no, mate, it's fair enough. You're fair enough entitled to your opinion. And I mean, I had no idea of those wrongdoings in the movie, so fair enough. Maybe I need to watch it with a more critical hat next time. But
if you enjoy it, that's fine. But
it was good for what it was for me anyway. I liked it. Loud noise of cars and fun story. I wasn't going to go back and fact check it, was I? So
it's entertaining.
Exactly. It's entertaining, and that's. I was going to say that's what it's all about at the end of the day, but yeah, you do need a bit of factual evidence in there as well from time to time. But let's move back, talking about things you hate, to talking about things you like a bit more, hopefully. I was going to ask you earlier, did you have any idea of what you wanted to be growing up? But you did say already that you wanted to be a journalist when you were a sort of teenager, older child. When did that sort of come about? Obviously, you weren't able to do that journalism course at school, which is frustrating. Did you go on to university to do something in that field? Or can you talk us through sort of how you went from school to then work to then finally YouTube?
Well, there's a lot of parts to that.
I can imagine. I'm all ears for you, Josh.
What did I want to be when I grew up? Racing driver. I think a lot of kids loving motorsport growing up wanted to be a racing driver, and especially playing games as a kid, pre-teen. I thought it was good. I thought it was a good driver, and then I got in the kart against some of these kids that were just unbelievably talented. We're talking like, Liam's a great guy, love him, but Liam Lawson, for example, in a karting field, there would be people ahead of him. And, I think that's sort of applicable to a lot of, karting scenes out there. You have a lot of these karters that are better than kids that just have the money to go into F1. But the point is that I went up against some of this extraordinary talent. Some have gone on to Formula E, some have gone on to DCM, Aussie V8 supercars and all this stuff, and then I went up against them and I'm just like, oh my god, I'm nowhere near them. Back then I didn't know how to drive a kart, obviously. Now I do, but I don't want to do it because it's just a pathetic sport. But
whoa, you've just thrown out so much shade on so many people.
Let's be honest though. It is a bit crap that it's determined how it is. But
yeah,
we'll move on for the sake of moving on.
Yeah, let's do that.
So then it got to high school, and that's obviously when I needed to choose certain subjects for my career. So by the age of 14, you had to know what you wanted to do in life. That is pathetically bad to do to a child back then. So
it's awful.
I took up English-rich subjects because I wanted to be a journalist, because I wanted to write, articles, write stories, all that stuff. And I thought, okay, this would be great. And of course, my parents are just like, oh, odds are you'll never get a job as a journalist because they're so hard to get. No matter, I ended up getting one, but that comes later.
We'll go on to that.
And then, then I wanted to be a lawyer because, I was following the money, I was looking for that forever job, and,
How did that change happen? They're very, very different jobs.
Yeah. I think it happened because I was close with my uncle who was a lawyer, and his
there you go.
daughter was
That
also a
makes sense.
lawyer.
Right.
And I figured, okay, well that's a path I can go down, because I don't mind I don't mind being in a courtroom and using my mouth, because I mean that was extremely awkward. I don't mind blabbering on, as this podcast probably would have suggested by now.
What?
But
No.
like, I mean overall, like, that was the aim, lawyer, until second to last year, where I was thrust into that IT class, and I was the top student in there. I was getting the highest grades, putting in, well, other kids have put in like 50-page, projects. I was turning in like 120 pages and all this jazz, because I was so heavily invested in it. Was given a personal recommendation to a design school, accepted on the spot, and I was like, okay, fine, sweet, I guess I'm becoming a web designer. Got the degree, it's back there, and after 2 weeks graduating and looking for jobs, it was the same thing. Looking for a young junior developer with 5 years experience.
Mate, that's what I'm in right now. That's what I'm doing right now.
And I don't want to make this seem to you that it's a hopeless situation. It was just, for me, I saw where the industry was going. Who's going to hire a professional web developer nowadays when you got Weebly, when you got Wix, when you got Squarespace? Yeah. This recommendation wasn't brought to you by Squarespace, but we're going to talk about Squarespace. There are those sites out there where it's free, and you could just really get someone in communications to dot it up for you. You now can have people working a whole bunch of sectors in one, because such a job is made easy. Who's going to spend thousands of bucks on a web designer who's probably going to screw it up? So yeah, that's when I realised, okay, the industry's dying. What do? I then took computing, a Bachelor of Computer Sciences at Auckland University, and I was freaking lost. I didn't know what I was doing. I was still chasing the IT job, because everyone was saying, the family was saying, this is the job, for life. It's where the money is. And you're good at IT. Am I though? And I think I was in the middle of a programming lecture, and I got the assignment, and I'm just like, how the fuck am I going to do this? And meanwhile I hear, others next to me talking about the little intricate parts to it, and I'm just like, I'm so out of my league here. Like, I do not belong here. And dropped out of university, took up a job as a storeman in a logistics factory, just trying to earn a buck, you know what I mean? And it seemed kind of pathetic, I guess you could say, to go from an IT career, potentially, to working in a logistics factory. But at the same time, it's, I guess, helped me out and later in life, in retrospect, maybe from being a lazy worker to being one that actually, pulled his head out of his ass and actually started working.
People might say that would be a down step, but it's not really. It's all just meandering through life, finding that career path, and everyone finds their way to their end goal a different way. So although that might have been, usually to someone a down step, it was actually just part of your path to where you are today. So if people are in a similar sort of situation and are at uni and are feeling a bit left out and feeling like they're not really up for it and feeling like they might drop out, don't think it's the end of the world kind of thing. You will be okay, and you will end up finding that path. But yeah, sorry. I
might have mixed the years up. I think it was after my tertiary degree as being a web developer was when I went to the logistics factory. Then I went to the 2014 Bathurst 1000, and I came back and I heard the company was being liquidated, so I was out of a job again. So
lovely.
I ended up going to university the next year.
Right. Okay.
Got job supplementing my living, working in a McDonald's, which it goes from being IT career to now back to in a logistics factory, now studying at university again, working in a McDonald's. I was like, okay, well, here I am. Eventually got up to manager, which was wasn't a bad income, but the problem is that you're still there. I think 2017, here in this country anyway, we call it the big OE, overseas experience, which is generally going over to the UK, working in a pub. And I heard about that. Nice. I'm just like, okay, I've worked in hospitality long enough. I reckon I could do it. I realise this is going to turn into a life story a little bit here, but that's
fine, mate. It's totally fine.
Let's keep on doing it.
Well,
so I moved to the UK in May 2017, right? And I've still got the BRP. My visa's still valid until this time next year. Whether it's going to get renewed or not, I don't know. But
we'll have to wait and see.
I will say, I'm probably one of the few people that actually does miss London. But
I was going to ask, whereabouts were you in England? So was it
for the first 2 weeks, I was over in the West Midlands, just south of Solihull. Okay. And that was a nice area, I suppose.
Very different to London.
Very different to London, of course.
Yeah.
And I was in this restaurant bar place, living in the attic, as all all expat workers do, working 60 hours a week and earning 50 quid a week, which wasn't a lot.
What?
But
that is nothing.
It's nothing, but it was free accommodation and
fair true. I
think it was free dinners as well, so it wasn't totally bad. But you're talking about the big OE's about experiencing Europe, and of course you got Ryanair, where of course it's Ryanair, but it's 7 quid to go 100 kilometers away from Paris. So, or you could do what I do, take the overnight coach and go to Edinburgh for no fucking reason. I go to Edinburgh and I'm just like, this is exactly like New Zealand, but with castles.
But is New Zealand as hilly as Edinburgh? Because if it is, I don't want to go.
Have you been to Edinburgh?
Yes. It's very hilly.
Okay, that's basically what Auckland's like.
Oh, God.
Very, very similar.
Edinburgh's known for, basically being vertical at points.
Yeah, well, similar to Auckland.
Okay, I guess I'll never be coming to New Zealand then, but there we are. You won't
come
miss
to New
me.
Zealand, but just stay out of Auckland. I'm an Aucklander, and I'll tell you the first thing.
I will stay away from
once
there
you get
anyway,
out of Auckland Airport. First thing you do when you get out of Auckland Airport, get out of Auckland. Just go down to the South Island. Everything's in the South Island. The only thing that we've got up here in the North Island is overpriced houses and gypsy villages. Nice. But yeah, anyway, so I was in Solihull for the first week, and I was being told everything behind the bar, and I can go behind the bar and run it. Learned that all within 3 days.
Yep.
But I got the sense that they didn't want me there. I could tell the head chef was pissed at me.
That's just English head chefs, mate, honestly.
Yeah, I know it is.
They're
but
just
I knew that he was telling the manager behind the scenes, get him gone. And really? I could tell within 3 days. I was like, oh shit, here we go. And yeah, within the week within the week of the trial period, they said, you sort of lack the X factor. I'm just like, oh, okay, that's a very vague reason, but okay, fine. If you don't want me here, I guess I won't be here. But learned a bit, which was great. Moved back to London. tried getting multiple jobs, which included, I was offered a part-time gig as someone who ran the race car simulator place in Revell, I think it is, south of London.
That's like right by where I live, mate.
And north of Gatwick Airport, and you had to from where I was living at the time. You had to go to Gatwick Airport.
Sim to Race? Is that what it's called?
I can't remember what it was called. I think it's closed down lately. It was run by Carlin, and it had Takuma Sato's F3 car in the front foyer, which I thought was the coolest thing ever. But eventually I was offered a full-time job at what the hell was it called? It was a paintball company, selling basically on the streets. Whether it be in Twickenham or Stratford or wherever, you just go out there and sell.
You're one of those guys. Oh my god, they're bloody everywhere in the UK, mate.
And I know all their tricks.
I can't believe you're one of those guys. Oh my god, they were so annoying.
I know.
I hate those guys.
We had to make a living, mate. We had to.
No, that's fair enough. But they're always very nice. They're always very nice. But I know they're all briefed to be like as in your face as possible to get you to buy. It's
exactly. I know their trick. It's basically they once they try and negotiate with you, and it's like okay, that's fine. 3, 2, 1. Oh no, hang on. Come here. I need to get these gone. So just take these. 20 quid. I'll be gone. It's like it was really snake oil salesmanship, and it didn't work out. And by this stage, it was 3 months living with no income in London, and these guys were screwing with me, and I was just like, this isn't working. Running out of money. Basically, I only really had enough money to get a flight ticket back home. Came back home to supplement the income, working in a McDonald's, and no direction at that point. It's like I'm not going to university. I'm just stuck here in a Macca's. Like this is just crap. Eventually, a family friend offered a job for me working as a repairman for commercial and customer laptops for HP in New Zealand. I was like, okay, much better. Got the gig for a couple of years, fully qualified, and I could do the job well. The pay was garbage, but it was an honourable job, and sometimes flying around the country to work. And 2018, which was I think the first year of working in that company, was also when I uploaded the Andrew Motor video. And midway through 2019, it blew up, and I wanted to see, okay, I want to do a different type of video. Let's try it out now that there's some kind of platform. Then that wormed its way into 2020, where, by that stage it was 10,000 subscribers, which I thought was just amazeballs. I get to TRS, and for some reason people they were noticing me. And then I was noticed as well by the owner of Autocar New Zealand. Cool. And at that stage, a journalist had left to go over to Australia to work for Speed Cafe. And he personally recommended me for that vacancy, and I got the job as a journalist for Autocar New Zealand and Velocity News, and I loved it. But
that was straight in at Autocar then. Wow.
But the problem is that being a journalist, you've got to commit yourself to the job. You've got to be committed.
It's not a 9 to 5.
No, it's virtually 24/7. I was reporting on races. I was reporting in F2 races, F1 races, F3 races, livery launches, V8 Supercar races, V8 Supercar E races, everything. And they were at all hours of the night. And then I've got to be up in the morning, working through the day. It was just taking a toll. And there was a time, in sort of April, May last year,
I remember speaking to you at that
barely
time.
Any content was coming out. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I've got to choose journalism job or YouTube. And I was like, I'm not gelling with journalism because there's a lot of bullshit, you know, a lot of half truths, sometimes complete falsehoods, a la Planet F1. I was like, I don't want to do that clickbaity crap. So I was like, screw it, let's make it work. Handed in my resignation. I half lied, saying I was getting third-party work, which I kind of was with the race, but realistically, I was going full-on with YouTube. The first paycheck as a full-time YouTuber was the equivalent of 400 quid for the month. I was like, okay, this is interesting. But of course, since then, it's as you would imagine, and especially with the sponsorships with Skillshark, you know, no, it's not Skillsharks.
You've got your own sponsors on, mate.
Skillshare, Surfshark, and you know, Squarespace. You know, all of them come along.
Good boys.
And obviously, with the crazy growth in the amount of views on these videos, it's it's gotten me into a position now where I'm close to being able to put a deposit down for a house.
Wow.
And to put it into context, I think for the better part of 3 or 4 years, I was living in overdraft. Like literally for about 3 or 4 years, I literally didn't actually have any money. I was borrowing from the bank. So complete turnaround. It was a big risk in the middle of a pandemic to quit a sure job to go for a YouTube career. But obviously, you know, recently hit 200,000 subscribers. Yes, it's been a bit detrimental to my mental and physical health. But having said that, you know, like, obviously money isn't everything. But, you know, it can lead to a more comfortable life. And my life's a lot more comfortable now. And I'm just doing what I love doing. You know, just creating videos about the sport that I love with random explosions and all that good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. You're having fun with it now. And at the end of the day, you have made the right decision to go with YouTube. As you say, it has worked out in a positive light. But yeah, that would have been a massive decision for you with everything that had gone on before that, with the jobs that hadn't quite worked out, and then uni that hadn't quite worked out, and the Mackies and everything like that, to then finally sink that job with Autocar, and then feeling like, right, okay, I'm on the path now to what I want to do, and then suddenly having to make that decision again to drop that for another thing would have been so difficult to throw caution to the wind and go for that. But no, I remember speaking to you at the time, at that kind of time zone where you were thinking about doing it, and even I'd spoken to you before that, and you're always a jolly character, and I could tell when we would speak on the phone, I was like, oh my god, you're very stressed right now, which is understandable for the position you're in. But yeah, mate, you've done an insane job. You've been a pioneer of the F1 YouTube scene, and it's just cracking, mate. So I'm glad to hear that it's all going positively now. So that's
well, I mean, hey, like, I don't even feel I scratched the surface with this stuff, which is what's exciting. Obviously, taking a 2-week break now, but you know, there's so much coming up. You know, the animation's being sort of rejigged a little bit.
Nice.
Bit of a different design. The main, I mean, it's not totally different. You know, you'll notice the character as is, but it's been done by someone who knows what they're doing. Because I just don't have time to do an animation. Like, I think there was one time in the Revell video that you'll see that I got the mouth to move, and I could do that, but that 2-second thing took me something like 4 hours to do, just to make the cells and then to put them together. And I'm trying to churn these things out on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
So getting someone to sort that out, you know, and, you know, just a whole bunch of things, obviously. So whilst people are saying, oh, I love your stuff, it's like, yeah, for me, there's still a hell of a lot more I could do, you know, to it. And, you know, still topics for days. Like the WTF videos are sussed until the end of 2023. I'm not short for ideas. Like,
Nice.
there's still plenty of topics to talk about and drivers to slander and all that stuff.
Exactly.
That's
the Josh Revell way.
It's all jolly and good. Everyone loves that Josh Revell. The person that is slightly batshit crazy and has got a unhealthy obsession for bombs and Sir Lancelot.
Everyone loves that Josh Revell, except any head chefs or anyone that works at sim racing venues.
Screw him. That head
we
chef.
hate them anyway.
Hell. To be fair, I think he was a bit let down by the fact he had no more hair left. So,
It is what it is.
I'll forgive him for that one. Plus,
Yeah,
when I come back over for the UK trip, I'll pay that restaurant a little visit.
Oh,
hey,
mate,
you know how you fired
so
me
funny.
back then? You know how you fired me back then? I just want to thank you so much. Since then,
Give him a
see
big
that
handshake.
Aston parked out there in the car park? Yeah, that was a result of that. So, thank you, bud.
Nice. Love to see it, mate. That'd be so epic. You've got to go and do that. Just rub it in a little bit, just a tad.
Just a tad. Although
just a tad.
I'm an egotistical bitch, so you know that I rub that in all the way.
I wasn't going to say that, but I'm glad you said it.
I am self-deprecating. That's the thing, self-deprecation. You got to learn to laugh at yourself a little bit.
Exactly. It has to be done. And yeah, you certainly do that in your videos, mate. You're always engaging. And I think that's why people vibe with you. Yeah, you're just like a normal bloke. We can all vibe with you. We all agree with you on a lot of things.
I'm anything but a normal bloke.
So,
but, you got to have that sort of, humility, humbleness,
exactly.
I suppose. It makes the whole thing a lot. I grew up watching YouTubers. I knew what I wanted to see from them, and I tried to put that in there. I wanted to be that guy that always responds to every comment, and then I started getting, thousands of comments. I'm just like, crap, I can't do this.
This is why they didn't do it, right? Yeah, you kind of see it
but
from...
I generally try and, take my experiences from being a subscriber and trying to, give the best experience I can in whatever way I can.
Yeah,
so
that's good.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, well, it's clearly worked a bit, mate. You've got 200,000 subscribers, so you're definitely doing something right. But I think that's where I'm going to call it for today for my questioning anyway, mate. Some incredible stories from you. Amazing to hear more about your life and exactly what happened. And I'm still just completely baffled that you're basically a pro sim racer. So maybe we'll see you in the next F1 esports series.
Pro sim racer. I wouldn't go that far. I think I've got like 4 boxes worth of trophies down in the basement. So maybe a little bit of a pro.
Little trophy haul coming up soon.
I'm actually Reese Bobby from Talladega Nights. I am a semi-professional sim racing driver and an amateur person. Just like, yeah,
Nice.
I guess one day I'll bring up that bloody sim racing career of mine, or someone could find the videos online and haunt me forever.
Well, I want to do this. I'm definitely going to look for them now, mate. I'm definitely going to look for them.
And the words of that stupid guy from on the phone from Taken. Good luck.
Good luck. I will find them, and I will haunt you forever, Joshua. I will haunt you.
I've opened up Pandora's box here.
You really have. You really have. Someone out there's listening. Is gonna find it, I bet. But yeah,
Please,
that's it for my.
No, please.
That's about it for my questioning today. But I have asked for the fans to send me in some questions over on Instagram and Twitter. So you up for answering a couple of those questions as well?
Oh no. Yeah. Yep, go on.
Alright, perfect. I've
Do your worst.
just got 4 for you today. Hopefully they're not too bad. Hopefully
Only
they're
4?
alright. Only 4. And we had a lot more, mate. I won't lie. We had a lot more than that. But I've cut it down to just my favourites. And we've already been speaking for about an hour, so let's have a cheeky little rattle.
What happens when you let me talk, dude?
Exactly. No, you're just so interesting, mate. That's it. You're just so interesting. Don't say that. Right. First question is from @Daniel Philpott on Twitter. He asked...
Danny.
Oh, he's a good boy. He's a good boy. Who is a driver who never got a chance to race in F1 that you think should have?
Never got a chance. By that wording? Oh boy.
It's a big open one to start off with. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, mate.
Whole history of racing.
Especially on your tired brain.
No, I'm just trawling through the entire history of the sport, trying to determine who should have got that chance. I think just an easy answer would be Tom Christensen. 9-time Le Mans winner. I think that says enough.
Yeah,
in terms of who should have got a proper shot, as in like who never got a proper shot at Formula One, even though they were in it for like a couple of races. Two people, Mike Thackwell and Stefan Belov, really, lost talents. So, hopefully that answered the question.
Yep. No, fair enough. I think I've heard of two of the three of those, but yeah, maybe one of them's a bit further back than my knowledge goes, but equally my knowledge is absolutely dreadful. So let's move on to the second question. At WillB17K on Instagram asks, he said, what is your favourite movie, racing themed or not? But I'm going to say, apart from Ford versus Ferrari, what is your favourite movie, racing themed or not?
You bastard. Favourite film of all time? Goodfellas.
Fair enough. So straight in there. Why? Just everything.
It's a Martin Scorsese film.
Fair.
It's a beautifully crafted film. It's got a hell of a cast. Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci. Joe Pesci, he's 4'0", but he's the most intimidating guy in the world. If you were locked in a room and you had a baseball bat, he'd get the baseball bat from you and kill you. There's no chance with Joe Pesci in the room. So, that was him in his prime in the 90s in a gangster film directed by Martin Scorsese. Like, it's everything that you need,
Okay, fair enough.
And, films like Pulp Fiction and so forth. There's so many good things from that time. But, Goodfellas for me is something that, it doesn't matter how many times I watch it, I still just I just love it more and more every time I watch it. And normally I'm the type of person that's just like, oh, good movie. I want to watch that again.
That's what I do.
Yeah,
that's what I do. Yeah, no, that's right. I've never actually seen Goodfellas, so maybe with your recommendation now, I'll need to go out and watch it now.
You gotta give it a watch, dude.
I'll go and do it for you. I'll do it for you.
Better than Ford versus Ferrari.
Is it? Okay. Okay, it's better than that, right? Considering your thoughts on Ford vs Ferrari, that probably wasn't that difficult. But okay, I'll take the recommendation forward, mate. Right, third question. At Luca on Rouge Energy, I think that's how I'm going to go with that pronunciation. On Instagram, they asked, is other motor racing, so not Formula One, big in New Zealand, and do you see it growing?
Yeah, Aussie supercars are the biggest motorsport here in New Zealand. Mm-hmm. There's also super stocks, dirt racing, sprint cars. That's also big here. Mm-hmm. Formula One is probably on the motor racing scene. It's a little lower down than you'd think, because we're kind of bandwagoners. It's amazing how quickly our support can drop for a team. Especially, for example, if you're in England and you send a 3-toed batter out to bat in a super over. Definitely other motorsport is more popular than Formula One here. And, especially with supercars, for example, V8 supercars, that's, I think even for people that aren't interested in motor racing, they'd understand things like the Bathurst 1000 and Holden versus Ford and Greg Murphy and all that stuff.
Gotcha.
So yeah, definitely other motorsports are popular here. Mm-hmm. Is it growing? Definitely not. It's definitely sliding here because it's it is waning for a few different reasons. Participation is waning, support's waning. There are ways that it can be improved. Unfortunately, the people who could improve it don't run Motorsport New Zealand.
Right.
Maybe that will change in the future, but it's basically it.
Yeah, hopefully for New Zealand's sake they do, because hopefully you don't get people moving up into the top ranks unless those lower ranks have loads of people around them and racing in them and supporting them and things like that. So yeah, hopefully
I should say that we've also got the Toyota Racing Series here,
yes,
which is great because before the end of the world happened, the last season where we had internationals come here, we had Liam Lawson, Yuki Tsunoda, the list has just fallen off my head, but in the previous sort of 4 or 5 years, we've had Lando Norris, Lance Stroll, Jahan Daruvala, Robert Schwartzman, Marcus Armstrong, heaps, Daniel Kvyat, Mitch Evans,
so many.
Nick Cassidy, I can go on and on.
I can tell.
It's great. You can look through that grid and you can be sure that there's going to be at least someone in there who's going to be destined for great things in the future.
Right.
So, that's obviously one aspect which is growing here in New Zealand. And, that's good, to know that, you can go to these events and see the next F1 superstar in the making.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool thing to be able to do. And yeah, as you're saying, that one's definitely picking up. I'd never heard of it until you started doing your, I don't know what you specifically call them. I remember you did videos around the New Zealand Grand Prix. I didn't even know what it was before you made those. So I think you've done a lot to educate people, not only from New Zealand, but from around the world as to that series and what it is and that New Zealand Grand Prix, to then increase numbers, increase viewership around it online. Because after you'd done that, I then went and watched the race after it happened. I went and rewatched it. Whereas without you, I would never have done that. So I think you're definitely playing a part in revitalising the New Zealand racing scene there, mate. So there you go. You can take all the credit for it. Bin off the New Zealand Corporation or whatever you called them. You're the one, boy. You're the one.
I know. I'm already claiming it.
You should be the wrong
I told you I'm an egotistical wreck.
I knew it coming into the interview, mate. It's all good. No, I'm joking. Right, okay.
Damn.
Final question. At Statistics Race on Twitter, they asked, what is something you know now, but you wish you knew before your channel on YouTube blew up? Quite a deep question to finish it up on, mate.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know, honestly.
Fair enough.
I think you just, this as well. You learn a lot of stuff just video by video. You're always learning something, in video making or otherwise. I honestly don't know if there's anything that I necessarily would want to know beforehand.
Okay.
Because I think everything up to this point has shaped the channel to be what it is today.
Yeah, exactly.
I probably would have said don't take comments too seriously, but honestly, I didn't then, I don't now. I love support. People that criticize it, I really don't care. I knew people were gonna hate my style of stuff because it's not the norm. Nothing about what I produce is normal. Nothing
about you is normal, mate.
Sorry?
I said nothing about you is normal, mate. I was joking.
But the whole thing is that if there's the one thing I would have said I wish I'd learned, it's not applicable. Honestly, I don't know. I'm not trying to back out of the question either. I really don't know.
That's fair enough. No, YouTube
and all that. It's good to learn things along the way because it makes you a better YouTuber.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I've definitely learned a lot of things along the way. I'll don't use race footage from 2017 onwards. Stick to B-roll and FP1 stuff.
Gotcha. Okay, I think I'll take on board that one as well. I think I've definitely used race footage since 2017, so maybe I should go and clip those out a little bit.
Your secret's safe with me. No one's going to know.
All you do is
you're going to edit this out, aren't you?
You might still. You might still get caught, but what I've always done is just crop it a bit, and then flip it. I've always found that work fine. But maybe it's just because, I mean, I feel like I can sort of get away with it a bit, but you're kind of a figurehead of the scene. They're kind of going to be they're going to have their eyes on you and what you're doing. So you've kind of got to be the martyr of being good.
Yeah, just about.
Doing your best, but we love to see it, mate. We love to see all the content you're making, and as I've said previously, you're doing a stellar job. You've earned this 2 weeks break, mate, so enjoy it, and Jesus Christ, get some sleep, mate.
Plenty of time to sleep when that goes too dark. You know what comes next.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll leave it there. But yeah, I think that's about all for today's episode of the ChatterBox podcast. Thank you very much for chatting with me today, sir. It's been an absolute pleasure. Do you have anything you'd like to say finally to anyone that might be listening out there?
Yep, Ford versus Ferrari sucks. That movie should be burned to the ground, and whoever was that swine that directed it, I just hope they know that Logan was a good film, but that doesn't give you the passports to make the abomination that was that film. You've dragged John... I give up. You've dragged plenty of names through the mud, and I'll never forgive you for it.
Well, there we go.
But, I mean...
ending the podcast as positive as always, as Josh.
If there was a nuke, that film would get it, in classic Josh Revell style.
Fair enough. You do a little bit of a E.T. Landhill type thing and just bury it as far below the ground as you can.
But I suppose if I had to end it on anything, end it as usual. Keep it respectful, be wholesome, don't be a manus, and as always, I'll see you all later.
Oh, I can't believe you stole that, mate. I was going to end it with exactly that. Damn, he stole it from me.
Not going to steal my catchphrase, mate. Not going to happen.
My mouth just immediately gets closed. Copyright, you can't say that. Pay Josh Revell £1 million right now.
Hey, you could steal FOM footage all you like, but you don't say shit about my manus joke.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind, mate. You've had the ladies' lawyers coming after you, and I'm going to have your lawyers coming after me. Jesus, this could be very interesting.
What lawyers?
Oh.
It's just me in the basement, just sending off angry letters.
Yeah, okay, I can believe that. But yeah, let's actually end it now. We're just going down a deeper rabbit hole of rubbish.
It'll be a half an hour podcast. It's almost an hour and a half.
Wait, okay.
End it!
Excuse
End
me.
It. This is being recorded, isn't it? End it!
Stop it. Alright, I was about to tell people, if they somehow hadn't already, to go over to your channel and subscribe, but I'm going to take that away now. Don't go and do that. No, I'm joking.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. Wait, what?
Definitely make sure you go and do that. I mean, it's got over 200k, so the likelihood is you've already done it, but if you haven't, make sure you go and subscribe to Josh's channel. Link will be down below in the description. And also, if you somehow made it over here from Josh's channel, welcome. Become a Meerkat today. Subscribe down below. I would really appreciate that. And if you did enjoy the video, be sure to drop a like on it as well. But otherwise, thank you all so much for watching. Don't be a manus, and I'll see all of you Meerkats later. Goodbye, guys.